I mean, I guess the possibility also exists that they're both human, trying to figure out if these two guys are androids.
For a wacky threesome.
Well, I mean, hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone Face Reactions. I'm Theta. Joining me today is Rafferty. And how'd you introduce yourself as though it's your first time?
Okay, just be gentle. Hello, I'm Norman Rafferty. I am a nerd on the internet. I used to review anime way back in the 2000s, and in my spare time, I make art and games.
All right. And we've watched a couple of things together on here before. And typically, you have picked the last two, I believe. And
pick some obscure ones from the anime boom. The stuff you would see down at Suncoast.
And
40 out.
This time around, you left it up to me. And I have mentioned in the past there's at least two writer-directors that I wanted to check up on more of their stuff for. But instead of going into something new that I haven't seen before, I at least wanted to do one thing that I have recommended to people in the past, and that is a work by Yasuhiro Yoshiura, who we've actually done one other thing of theirs on the channel before. Me and Griff watched Pale Cocoon, which was a 2006 OVA, which was really good too. But I have seen the 6-episode OVA series that they did called Time of Eve, and they did a 2010 version of it, movie version, which I haven't seen before, which I thought, hey, I've recommended the OVA to a ton of people in the past. Why not sit here and watch it with you and see how that works out?
No, I'm unfamiliar with Yoshiura. I don't think I've seen any of these titles, but I can see here that he was the director and one of the writers for the 2016 Patlabor reboot. And Patlabor is one of my favorites, so now I'm very curious.
I actually haven't seen Patlabor before. Well, you say Patlabor, and I've always pronounced it Patlabor, but I haven't seen it, so... you know.
Well, they call them the Labors, so, is their name for the mech. Because the premise of Patlabor is that giant robots are for construction and industrial purposes, and people are repurposing them for crime. And so they have to make a special division of the police. And so it's very subversive on the anime genre, which was very much, for young boys and whiz bang and the zinger and that kind of stuff. So you would, Patlabor was more of a sitcom, like a working place sitcom, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but with giant robots. And it has some of my favorite writing in it, especially one of the movies. I forget which one. I think it's even called just Patlabor the movie. It is one of my favorites of all time. But of course, that's from the 80s and the 90s. What we're looking at today is a 2010 release. So we're looking at post early digital. So I'm not really sure how to say that, but like in the 2000s, they started moving to computers for the paint and trace and for the production. And it cannot be emphasized enough. That's radically changed. Like a lot of the selections I suggested earlier were, if they wanted to put it on the screen, they had to paint it. So even though animation can do anything, you still had limited colors that you could use. The lighting was limited. You had a lot of background pans. Now that we're in the digital era, there's no limits in the number of colors you can use. So you start seeing a lot more shadows and effects. The character designs become more complex.
I know it's of that era where... When did Line Barrels of Iron come out? It's always my go-to example of not appreciating the hand-drawn animation or apparent hand-drawn animation to the CGI fight that we're about to have.
Line Barrels of Iron was, the manga was 2005. That's pretty late, I thought. Wow, I ran for many years. The television series started in 2008, because I know because I reviewed that one.
Right, so again, that sort of thing. Even just before we recorded this, me and Lessons were recording episodes of Macross Frontier, which is, 2006, and even they have the CGI battle scenes going on, which are, incongruent to the animated style that's happening.
Yeah, when they try to do the CGI robots with it, like they're not trying to do the post-processing effects to make it look like it fits, it usually doesn't look very good. But I'm also talking about like moving from physical paint and trace to digital paint and trace just changes the look. Like it's why the older color palettes, the people used to have pink hair because we only have 16 colors to work with, and we want this character to stand out. We'll give him pink hair. This one from the 2010s looks, and also being a more slice of life, looks like they're going to, even though we're going to have a narrower range of colors because it's digital, they can express more shadow, more hue. They can change the values. So this is, I mean, I haven't seen this, and I don't know about this. My first impression is this is going to be a lot, they're going to be emphasizing the crafts and a lot of moodiness. I predict, my prediction now, I predict 5 slow pans of an empty room. That's my prediction.
I'll be honest, it has been so long, I don't remember. I remember the plot mostly. The grand scheme of the plot of the OVA series. So visually, the only thing coming to my mind is probably what you're seeing on the poster, if you saw the poster of it, which, not a huge spoiler, is literally like the first 30 seconds, minute, if I recall correctly, of the movie.
Don't spoil it. The poster I saw is just 2 people standing there. So
well, then not even that. Sorry, the main poster for both of the OVA and the movie, as far as I've seen, is the same image. So
okay. And also to correct here, I probably should say dolly shot, but actually it's a multi-plane shot. But anyway, so enough about that.
Is it a dolly shot in animation?
Technically it's a multi-plane shot or a plane shot. A plane shot is when you just pan over there.
Yeah, because a dolly shot is literally laying a track down to run a dolly in a solid.
Right. Usually a lot of people call a pan shot where you go sideways over it. A pan shot is where the camera stays in the pan and you just swivel the camera, which means you'd be in one. It'd be like a first-person shooter if you just turned in place, and so that would be slightly different because your perspective would change. You'd whip around, whereas in anime they usually just slide it along. Anyway, you wanted me to go into this cold, so I guess we're not going to do too much lead in. Let's go ahead and watch this thing.
Yeah, I'm certain you've already gotten kind of a glimpse of what it may be about by a little bit that you looked up to see when it came out and whatnot.
Well, I wanted to avoid seeing anything. So I know the team is, I know it looks like it involves high school students. It's 2010, so some of the stills give away, but let's take a look at it.
All right, let's do it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so I got opening titles. Asmic. That sounds familiar.
Does not to me.
Well, the big consolidation. Ooh.
That's pretty clever. Probably.
Aspect's a video game company.
Registration name, time of eve.
受信側だけをトレースして
受信機体特定しました。
こちらでもモニターした
Bears will be in eventually.
驚いた。この機体、塩付きの置き土産ね。
と言いますと、
塩付きの AI、コードライフの実装実験。覚えてる？
主任が強制停止したあれですか。再稼働中とは知りませんでした。
Well, at 2 minutes in, we have our first Christ
関係
imagery.
職員宅にて保護観察中。思わぬところで繋がって
What do you mean, the Halos?
いずれにせ
The
よ、
Halos.
この地区一帯のアンドロイドがあの店の情報を得ているのはほぼ確定。
しかも彼ら同士の会話で。塩付き。これもあなたの仕業なの。
該当機体の現在位置、トレース開始します。
I
Are
would
you
say,
enjoying?
I mean, it's relevant. It's a relevant subtext. I would say it's already different from what my memory. But then again, they might have to be doing things to. I would say to compress the time of the OVAs to the time of the movie.
ログは正常に書き出されました、マスター。
質問。
何でしょうか？
いや、質問キャンセル。コーヒー。
かしこまりました。
Sort of the replicator problem.
みんなは
You didn't give me any
ステータス
information on how you wanted the coffee.
お父様は仕事場に宿泊されて。
Well, I assume he's called for coffee before. I love this era, like the 2010s here, where the
帰
smartphone
宅時間。
hasn't, it's been invented, but it's not ubiquitous. So when the anime does the tech, they're still doing it in the flip phone era.
自分で
I mean, I guess it's hard to anticipate what future technology is going to look like beyond what we're already doing.
I know.
申し訳ありません。
朝食一人分今すぐ。
かしこまりました。日本国内における食料自給率が8割を超えたことが明らかになりました。これは食料管理省の調べにより。
Would you eat a machine-made tomato?
Yeah, not if it looked like that.
You wouldn't steal a tomato.
I would download a car, though.
つまりドリ系とはアンドロイド精神依存症から来ているんですね。最近ではハウスロイドを人間視してしまう若者をこう呼ぶんですけれども、そんなドリ系と呼ばれる人たちを取材しました。
Not the VA.
I mean, to be fair, they apparently made them look like people. I don't think it's our
I
fault.
mean, they didn't look exactly like people. They didn't even do the Detroit thing of putting a stupid thing on their head.
I don't know. I think it's more like Sims. They should have just made it like a giant green crystal or something.
No, they went with the halo because subtlety is for cowards. Are you enjoying?
It's crazy having to track your Android's movement on your phone by coordinate.
Well, I don't know if those are coordinates or IP numbers. They can't seem to make up their mind.
Well, it says move. I don't know. It looks like
Yeah.
IP numbers, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you're sitting down. It might be gibberish.
だからさ。お前はロボット信用しすぎだっつうの。別に信用してるわけじゃないけどさ。ほら、なんとか原則。ロボット三原則。
You know, those laws.
人間に危害を加えない。人間を。
Why do they always quote?
それで迎えに行ったのか。人間を心配してるわけじゃねえんだ。持ってんならその辺考えろよ。持って
I don't know. Set up the universe.
Yeah, but they always quote Asimov, but that's a philosophy, not a program.
うちのアンドロイドの。どの辺が？
I don't know if they're learning machines. You might set up the philosophy as invaluable.
Yes, but interpreting what that means is a philosophical, not a, mechanical or
最近
microprocessor.
様子が変でさ。
There's a great Judge Dredd comic where there's a flaw in robots programming where they won't harm humans, but they don't know what harm is. Like when someone's master was complaining too much, the robot just strangles her. It's like, she's not complaining anymore. Must be better.
So they've tracked down the last location on the phone before it said, "Are you enjoying the time of Eve?"
Is that a bullet hole? What is that?
I know it seems to be leaking.
Yeah. But like I said, you already see the, ooh, 3D. Ooh. Yeah, you can already see the production value increase. So it's not all the reds and blues of the backgrounds painted hastily with sponges. Oh, of course it would be restaurant at the end of the world.
I mean, I know what you're talking about, but I don't get the connection.
Yeah, so the big secret contraband place is a place where you can find new people to date.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Hitchhiker's Guide.
No, restaurant at the sorry, not restaurant at the end of the world.
Well, I was talking about the end of the universe. That's Milliways.
Yeah, no, that's I meant the Isekai, the Isekai restaurant anime. There's nothing with the 3 laws that says you can't have sex with a robot.
I guess there would be if the robot wasn't made to have sex with you, in which case you might cause it harm. This machine does not discriminate between flesh, nor does it care. I like how shocked they are that there's an android at the Android Cafe. Well, you're assuming it's an android. It doesn't have the ring above its head.
I know. It's like, so why would, if it's against the law for them to not present as androids, why would you build them this way?
I don't know. Why could you pull the thing off in Detroit?
Because Detroit's not good. Detroit's bad.
でも仮にそうだとしたらあいつだけの問題じゃねえかもな。どういうこと？他の客も全員ルールに従っているとしたらどうだ？
Dun dun dun. They could all be robots and we not know. A fan.
ここってやばい店かもな。ここのことさ。なんだよ。おじさんに言う？親父は関係ねえよ。
新入りさんだってナギちゃんから聞いたの。ナギちゃんってのはカウンターの彼女ね。それでここ座っていい？
But I guess also, you know, not living in the world, we don't know what models of robots they make.
そうなんだ。いつ来ても同じ人ばっか。本読んでるのはセトロさんでしょ。2階がシメさんと可愛いチェちゃんで、あっちはコウジ君とリナちゃん。仲いいの。それにナギちゃんでしょ。あと帽子かぶってる子。アキコよろしく。
リクオです。マサキ。
リクオ君とマサキ君覚えた。
あのさ、女性型アンドロイド見なかった。
減点1。
ルール違反。
Can't discriminate, which means you can't even indicate that somebody might be an android.
ルール違反はみんなが困るの。ナギちゃん。ねはいい子なの。この店のことすごく大事にしてるから。
その割には仕事してねえじゃん。
ああ、またすねてる。
やばい店って感じでもないか。
つうか、むしろ俺はこう言いたい。なんでこんな店に来てんだ、彼女。
なんでって。
俺、わかった。
Yeah, trying to figure out why his own android comes here.
い
や、そういうことじゃなくて。
Because she wants to hang out. Because he's a terrible dude.
言われるよ、ルール違反。
そりゃ、聞き方一つじゃねえの。
I don't know if they've actually addressed the concept of like androids having free will of any sort.
That's how she would come here. Why would she not come here?
Right, but if they're not supposed to have free will, that would also be a major indication towards the world.
Right.
それでさ、
何？
まあ、店の外の話なんだけど、俺んちアンドロイドいねえんだよ。今時珍しいだろ。いるんだろ、アキコさんちは。
いるよ。だからここに来てるの。
どういうこと？
ここなら誰とでもお話できるでしょ。いろんなことわかるじゃない。
何を？
相手の気持ちかな。これは私んちの話
I
ね。
feel like he's trying to Kirk his way through this.
アンドロイドもみんな家族だって思ってるのよ。でもね、
Logic his way, the supercomputer.
そっくりでも中身は
Oh,
全然違う。
I bet your household has a machine in it, huh?
だからね、よくこう思う。
Well, yeah, it'd be true if I was the machine, wouldn't it?
どう思ってるのって。それがここにいる理由。
Did she just eat a sugar cube?
いろい
Think so.
ろ話してもっと分かってあげたいの。だって、
It's just sugar. Literally no different from a placebo.
ああ、降ってきた。離婚とこの来ないのか？
あいつらが何考えてるか知りたいってどう思う？
は？
アキコさん関係。
ああ、昨日の話。
彼女みたいなのもドリ系っていうのかな。
俺はもっとないからわかん
Robo
ね
freak.
えけどさ。
傘をお持ちしま
ああいう
した。
使い方するよりはいいんじゃねえの？
物を大事にする人なのかな。
まあ、いい人じゃね。
そうだよね。
I don't know if it's even efficient to make them
そうなん
humanoid.
じゃないよ。
まあ、確かに可愛かった。今日も行ってみ
It
るか？
isn't, which is why we haven't seen humanoid robots.
I don't know, there are a couple of companies. Although,
あき
even though they're official and they get reported in actual business magazines, they still look like dudes wearing full on, like, latex outfits.
お待たせして申
Yep.
し訳あり
We
ません。
know once a company makes something, that's a good idea. That's how that works.
かしこまりました。
Well, someone's got to be the first.
No, but I like how they like sit there totally motionless when, you know, it's already 2010. Oh God.
Well, it's raining out.
Yeah, and they have her like looking all depressed too. Subtlety is for
コー
cowards.
ヒーです。
やっぱりあの
But-
味。
入れ方を変えております。
あ、そんな命令してないぞ。
マスターが喜ばれるかと。
何勝手なことしてんだよ。お前まで人間の真似すんのか。
私はアンドロイドです。人間ではありません。マスター。あなたは私をどう思ってるの？
Oh, was that her?
見た目がそっくりでも中身は全然違う。似てるけど全然違うのよね。
Just without a hat?
もっと分かってあげたいの。だって家族だから。
No. It's hard to tell because the designs are very simplified.
I mean, it feels like it's on purpose. To make it harder to tell what an android versus a person looks like, we make all the models kind of look a bit off.
So how come these students don't have any parents?
The android talked about his mother in the very opening bit. I think she just said she left. I don't know if he meant left as in the mortal plane
Yeah.
or...
Yeah, that's
I think the
that's
indication is she's got like a really early job or something.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering about because they didn't say she was dead. They just said she wasn't there. But that's the second time she hasn't been there.
Right, but I think the implication was that she had orders from the mother.
あの店には行ってないって。
命令以外のことしたか。
おりません。
あれはどうなんだよ。ほら、携帯の
行動記録？
それだ。
こっちが間違ってるのかな。
だからお前ロボット信用しすぎだっつうの。
じゃあサミーが嘘ついてるわけ？
そう。
I mean, to be fair, if they only do what they're programmed to do, then you should trust them implicitly.
サミーっていうのがあれ。
Right, because corporations that make robots, because that would never do anything against their own best interests.
Yeah, don't upgrade your robot then.
1条。人間に危害を加えない。
Dark
2
patterns.
条。1条に反しない限り人間の命令に従う。
おお、覚えてんじゃん。
3条。ってあったっけ？
自分の身を守る。これがロボットの行動原理だ。つまりそういうことだ。
Except for the zero law, you guys don't do any reading. Wikipedia exists.
I remember in stories like this, if they do introduce stuff like that, it tends to be later in the story. It's like a revelation moment.
Right, but that's the problem is if they're going to quote Asimov as something they know, then, they
Yeah,
would
but they're
know
also
all of that
indicating...
stuff.
The problem is that when you have a character quoting Asimov, it implies that other characters don't even know who that is.
やっぱり行く？
Yeah, but
It's
all
the
you have to
as
do is
you
just-
know rule. I don't have to as you know it if we all know it.
なんだよそれ。
だから行くって。じゃあ行こうぜ。はい、行こう。
いらっしゃい。
I mean, it's the weird incuriousness. They shouldn't be bringing up Asimov if the main character's not even going to, like, Google him.
安心すんのは早いな。これから来るのかもしんない。
Like when he's sitting here talking about, like, oh, robots. I wonder what else they can do, and then does not Google it.
飯まで粘るか。
ばったり出くわしたくないんだけど。
I mean, it could just be disinterest.
Right, he's interested enough to go across town to the robot cafe, but not enough to Google it.
からでも見えねえのか。
Well, I mean, one of them is obviously interested in what the fuck their android is up to.
Right, but this is a young adult.
にゃ
Yeah.
いや申し訳ないお兄さん方、子供は自由に遊ぶのが一番ですよね。
ああ、
自由だな。
ほらよしなさいって。ちーちゃん食べたいものがあるんだよね。椅子に座らないと食べられないよ。いや失礼、興味を持ったら他のことはお構いなしでして。
Again, what I was talking about, we don't live in the world, so I don't know what models of androids they make.
聞くのか？
だからもうやめたって。
Do they make child androids?
They make senior androids? I mean, already in the news, there's people trying to sell AI as when your loved ones pass on, you can still love them. They can still hang around forever.
We already make crystals out of their dead bodies. Why not make the microchips out of their dead body crystals? Have it go full circle.
Yeah, I mean, Asimov they quote a lot, but people don't quote the Bradbury Marionettes series, which is also about androids looking like humans, but people using, simulacra androids for, well, crime.
ブレンド2つ。
イブレンド2つ。
And in fact, Marionettes is a horror story because the Marionettes company makes illegal androids that resemble humans because it's illegal in those stories, to duplicate people because of, impersonation. But then they discovered that Marionettes is robots all the way
自
down.
分のロボットが知らないところで勝手なことをしてたらな。
It's really a crime syndicate of robots trying to kill all the humans.
俺にはわかんねえけどな。持ってねえし。
なんで持ってないのさ。
I have a prediction this is not that kind of anime. Ah! Just gonna give us 2 frames of that?
I mean, no comment.
サミーが嘘つく理由がわかんない。
俺はリングなしのロボットの方がわかんねえよ。
ちょっと行ってくる。
あ、もう。
I mean, I'd be concerned about the dude reading the book because I don't think he's turned a page.
どうしたの？
Ever.
全然違う。
Yeah, but I don't know if that's cheap animation.
あのさ、じゃなくて質問。その
I mean, my opinion is always when in doubt, everything's on purpose.
でもロボット
はい、この話終わり。 どうしたのちいちゃん。変なのつけてる。
変なのって。
Yeah, my eyeballs!
にゃーにゃ。
私に何かブレードランダー。もっとうまく監視したらどうだ。男のまとわりつくような視線は気持ちのいいものじゃない。
すいません。
I mean, I appreciate the reference, even if it's
ルールに反抗的ではここは楽しめ
in
ない。
your face.
いや、
Calling him Blade Runner.
I got that, yeah. I like the modern styling. I like the cheap slabs of concrete.
それでは君のご友人によろしく。
Ooh, code colon life.
多分。
前に帽子隠されたことあったの。
メガネ取られた。
I guess he comes here to read the book because he can't read it outside.
持ってたって。
パンツの中に挟んでた。
Ew.
Because I mean, if he is an android, he wouldn't have any free time to read anything on his own, right?
I guess not.
さあ。
今は開かないわよ。
はあ？
誰か帰ったらしばらくロックされるの。
なんでだよ。
プライバシーって大切よ。
So you can't follow somebody out to find out if they are an android and where they go.
Yeah, against the rules.
Yeah, so that's what she said.
Except I don't know how they can enforce rules inside the cafe. I guess they can just ban you from the cafe.
I think that's the implication.
Yeah. But this is this is young adult entertainment.
I certainly
so
wouldn't let somebody go ahead of me, especially somebody who was just obviously trying to follow a guy. Because the move would obviously be sit outside the cafe and see who leaves.
私から何かをするのが嫌いなの。勝手なことするなって。大丈夫。きっと分かってくれる。
たかがローカルルールだろ。ロボット法とは比較にならないじゃん。
またルール違反言いつけるよ。
どうしてもだね。
ナギちゃんには内緒にしてあげるから、この話は終わり。
内緒。やっぱり内緒にできるんだ。
随分と変な話をしてますね。誰にだって隠し事の一つや。
Well, implying that he thinks she is an android.
私もこの子に秘密にしていることがあります。嘘だってつかないわけじゃない。でもそれはこの子のためです。アキコさんが内緒にするのも陸尾くんのためでしょう。
人間に危害を加える。俺がロボットの行動原理だ。命令以外のことしたか。
しておりません。
僕が傷つくから。僕のため。
もっともメガネのありかを。
Androids trying to figure out the concept of emotional harm.
欲しかったからでしょうが。
パンツの中じゃ。
誰かに渡したそうです。
もうこんな時間。帰るの？夕食の支度しないと。これ、ありがとう。
Oh, they have their own house blend.
やっと気がついた。
なんで黙ってたんですか？
聞かれなかったから。
Oh, that was the purpose of the blurry of not being able to see the person. I thought it was an artistic choice.
Rude.
Well, I mean, he thinks it's his android.
Still rude.
Yeah, I mean, here it is, yes. Also, the fact that she's expressing her individuality with a hair tie.
陸尾くん。
なんだよ、畜生。
陸尾くん。
勝手なことしやがって。あいつは俺の。
座りなさい。
はい。
You'd think that'd be enough to get him kicked out. I mean, not here where he can't leave, but I mean, the when he could.
Yeah, I would think that would be enough.
あの子、初めて来たのはいつだったかな。最初は戸惑ってたんだけど、だんだん打ち解けてきて。
打ち解ける？
うん、いろいろ話してくれるようになったの。服を買ってくれるお母さん、たまに見る怖い夢、ピアノを弾かなくなった男の子。それでこの間言ってきたの、コーヒーをうまく入れたいって。
It's also an implication about the world if there's child androids.
わからないのね。自分のしていることが正しいのか、間違っているのか。
I'm just trying to ponder how you make better coffee when they're just making it instant. But there are ways to make better coffee. Don't at me, everybody.
イブの時間はいつでもご来店をお待ちしております。
But he broke the rule.
See, I don't know. I don't drink coffee myself, but one of my favorite manga/anime characters is supposed to be a coffee nut, and everyone's always disappointed when they pull out instant coffee every time.
I mean, fresh ground is better.
Well, like their main room is filled with like coffee making gadgetry and everything like that, and then they pull out like a little slip and they pull the thing off, pour it into a hot cup, and just spin it around.
うん。
よし、じゃあな。ロボットサミーちゃんによろしくな。
質問。
何でしょうか。
あの店。
マスター、申し訳あり。
コーヒ
ー。かしこまりました。
最近のコーヒー。美味しいかも。
ありがとうございます。
いろいろと面白いものが見られましてね。まだ特定には至り
I've already forgotten what they called it at the beginning of the episode.
Called what?
Infatuation with the robots?
Oh, Robo Freak or Dorike.
I remember the Dorike, I forgot what it stood for.
Yeah, they're translating it as Robot Freak.
先入観は真実を遠ざける。塩付きならそういうはずよ。
続行します。
I guess she's going to the cafe. I think you do that right before the door instead of in the house where people can see you leaving.
Well, I would assume that in theory everybody's gone out. So if he's doing this,
oh yeah, but if you're doing like subterfuge crap, you wouldn't want to be seen like, yeah, someone in the house, someone coming home, you know, see you on the street.
Oh, the ethics people. Ethics committee. Marilyn Robot.
I guess it's ethical to teach your kids to hate things.
私が言うのもなんだけど、昼間からよく来るわね。サボり？
振り替え休日。店員が言う言葉じゃねえな。
ごめん、リコ君はともかく。
I guess the robot teacher is still teaching.
特待生なんだよ。
Well, of course he's still teaching, because he's programmed to do it, even though everybody skipped class that day.
Also, all the books are Code Life?
Yeah, cheap animation.
I mean, it's either that or it's an important book we haven't been, like, drawn to yet.
You saw the OVA.
18 years ago? I've expressed how bad my memory is.
Wow, this did come out 18 years ago.
ドリ系が自分のアンドロイドを連れてきてる。これ以上説明いらねえよな。どこ見てんだよ。お前さ。
見てないよ。
見てたじゃん。
見てない。
いや見てた。
見てない。
見てた。
見てない。
見てた。
いいわね。
言われたことね。
男二人で盛り上がっても寂しいわよ。
今度変な目で見たら。
見てないって。
何をだよ。
コウジ君が羨ましいんだ。
だから違うって。
ま、興味深いよね。だろ？
Yeah, it's a whole thing of code life right behind their heads.
You're like, I think you could still buy those things.
As far as I know, they're still making them.
Yeah. And they did not catch on.
Oh yeah, no, there's a ton of alternative keyboard model things that just did not work. Like the gloves. One-hand keyboard gloves.
彼はコウジ、私はリナと申します。
どうも。俺マサキ、こいつ陸を。次見たら手出すからな。
見てないって。
I mean, I guess the possibility exists that they're both androids.
そんなことないって。
Also true. Oh my god, sex!
I mean, I guess the possibility also exists that they're both human, trying to figure out if these two guys are androids.
Or a wacky threesome?
Well, I mean, the same way that they're trying to figure out if everyone here is androids, would an android react to sexual stuff? So, if I do sexual things in front of these two guys, are they human or android?
We'll ignore the fact that they're ostensibly high school students.
見せてもらっていい？
うん。
お好きなんですか？綺麗だね。
Good life.
うん、そこは大作りだろ。500積んでるから。
あ、そうだ。M リンクだから多分。
Ooh, M-Link. Yeah, why you do not hand your phone to someone else?
Well, especially not when it can broadcast everything into a size the entire room could share.
何これ？
Yeah, that's your piece on the side. How is this not a violation of the rules?
Because it has nothing to do with being android or not. Technically, you can be a dick to everybody, and that's very inclusive.
何度あっても寄り添っていても不安でやっと理由が分かりました。
How did you not know you were the side piece?
Was that a freak out, or is she an android breaking your programming?
Since it made mechanical noises, I'm going to assume it's because she's an android.
See, that's the problem with my position here, is that listening through the headset to a different TV, I'm kind of muffled, so I'm mostly hearing the louder voice sounds. Just gonna keep breaking the rules, huh?
Why didn't she could have gone in the bathroom to do that and get more privacy.
I'm not sure that once the androids come in here, logic means much anymore.
私はマスターの護衛を実行しました。あ、じゃあコウジさんって。
僕は今までなんてことを。
応急処置が不完全だったようです。
ここに来るのはコウジ、君のマスターの護衛ってこと？
いいえ、私自身の意思です。
それ、メーカー修理に出した方が。
私は正規のメーカーと関係を持つことができません。私のことがメーカー
Yeah, so that conversation we had before. Don't get your self-thinking androids upgraded.
少しでも長くここにいた。
Yep.
修理もしない。
They probably patched that shit.
この店で最も人間らしく振る舞えていないのは私です。そうでしょう。私はいつ破壊されてもおかしくありません。だから使うことのない学習機能に自律的抵抗をかけているのだと思います。コウジはこんな私を人間の女性として扱ってくれます。だから私はここで幸せなんだと思います。
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there's nothing behind those doors.
優しいんですね。
Well, there has to be something behind the doors because they have human clients.
コウジの優しさは変わらないと思う。
Right. But going into one and somebody not or doing anything would be an indication.
戻ります。
Right. But if you have humans in the place and they have to go somewhere.
Yeah, technically, if somebody leaves, you're locked in for a bit. It'd be a really uncomfortable situation.
And I'm also waiting for them to get raided. I do know in the US it's illegal to have sit-down food service and not also have facilities that work.
言いたいことは相手が人間でも。
なぜそう思うのですか？知っているんですね。その時の気持ち。
多分ね。ああ、こういうこと言うようになっちゃった。こっちが本命って。
I mean, conceivably, we know that they have here at the moment is ice cream, coffee, and sugar.
お前とリナが一緒に写ってる写真が一枚もない。撮るわけにはいかねえよな。恋人ごっこが外にバレたらまずいだろ。いや、案外こっちもロボットか。
ロボットじゃない。
じゃあなおさらだ。ここで何してんだよ。
恋人ごっこなんかじゃない。
じゃあ本気だってのかよ。
Ooh.
Well, I mean, so far the story seems to be we've got one guy who's trying to understand the place and the other guy who's really trying to shut it down.
Well, it's a foil. It's, you know, if they both agreed on everything, it wouldn't be that interesting.
Well, I mean, so far the indication is his dad is somebody important. Because remember, the first time they came here, it's like, we'll call your dad about this place.
分かり合えないことはあると思う。
分かり合えるわけねえだろ。
僕はね、マスターを助けたいんだ。
は？
僕のマスター、リナとよく似て
Oh,
る。
so I was right.
僕は
They're both
マス
androids.
ターを助けたい。昨日もいろんな人を見ました。
I miss bar phones. The camera is huge.
マスターは新たなパートナーを見つけるべきです。人間の。
もういいの。疲れた。工事がいい。私がロボットになるの。ずっとそばにいて。
I mean, that is a bit extreme of a thought process. But also now I'm thinking about how warm they must be. Like, do they have internal heating mechanisms?
You know, that's a place we could go, and I don't think we should.
Well, I just mean more so that you'd be able to tell an android from a human by touch alone. You'd be like, handshake. Oh, android.
このことをリナには黙っていてもらえませんか。
Unless maybe that's what the coffee is for.
傷つけられないんです。誰も。
勝手だな。ダメ人間じゃねえか。
I mean, not really, because he's showing her pictures of this place, so...
Okay, so all the pictures have the extension RIK, which is the Rico format. from the Rico copier system. Huh. Interesting.
Yes, the international hand signs for we should be going.
Yeah.
いろんなのがいるよね。
We should be going 5 meters.
アンドロイドも。叩いて悪かったな。え？お前の目が正しかったわけだ。俺もじっくり見ときゃよかった。え？まさき。あ？目覚めたの？
I mean, all they managed to do is fuck up a relationship.
Basically, yeah.
は？でもリナの方は。いや逆だろ。待てよ。リナはなんて言ったんだ？
ここに来るのはコウジ。君のマスターの護衛ってこと？
いいえ。
あ！自分のマスターがコウジとは一言も言ってねえよな。
言ってない。
店の外で二人は無関係。
あ、でもどっちも相手が人間だって言ってる。食い違ってるよ。
はい、お待たせ。
Well, I guess it took them this long to figure it out, both the sets of information.
Mm-hmm.
同じだよ。
ちゃんと説明しろよ。
相手がどちらかわからないのはアンドロイドも同じってこと。あの二人はお互いに興味を持ってて。
違う理由でな。
お互いに隠して。
Oh, right, yeah, that the androids don't know who the other androids are in the room.
いいこと言うじゃない。でもあんまり邪魔しちゃダメよ。
アンドロイド同士の恋愛。
それで先日の写真の女性、どなたなんですか？
アンドロイドが三角関係。
説明が難しい女性。
アンドロイドが地上のもつれ。
変なツッコミ入れないでよ。
いつかはっきりさせますからね。いや、
そうなの？
I guess conceivably, if you could get an android to replace your kid, you could probably get an android to replace your grandpa.
Right, which hasn't been a concept they're bringing up in here. It does show up in Detroit, and is done very badly. So, oh,
well, yeah, I think the problem with Detroit is the fact that why would you want a mass-produced kid?
Yeah,
that they all look the same.
If there was only one problem, I've never seen a post-it pad like that before with the pegs on it. Oh no, she's posting.
Well, I mean, it kind of tells you what operating system they're working on if you can do a check disk on them.
Yeah, always get an open source Android. Are you enjoying? Are you not entertained?
Is she running the check disk on herself, or is he running the check disk on her?
I assume she's doing it on herself. This is just a framing device for the flashback sequence.
The mother.
Finally.
Yeah, everybody, I guess. Oh, that was the person from the, Wait, what?
Oh.
Because that was the person from the desk at the very beginning. The one who's tracking this whole thing.
Yeah.
Who beats androids, I guess.
Uh-oh.
倫理委員会からのお願いです。現在、倫理委員会ではマスターの管理下から
Well, thank God they've got such an appealing logo.
Please report all robots acting suspiciously. By the way, robots look identical to humans.
Well, I mean, this one clearly doesn't.
静かね。
つうか客いねえし。
いや、
あれ帰ったのかな。
本当に変な店だよな、いろんな意味で。
あのさ、ナギさんってなんでここで働いてるの？
ナギでいいわよ。ここが好きだから、ここに来る人もね。
Yeah, is Nagi an android?
顔が見えないのは寂しいわ。
Yeah, don't ask if she owns the place or not.
僕らは
何？
That's fair.
これ、おかわり。
豆出してくるね。ちょっと待ってて。ゆっくりしてってね。
ほんと静かだな。
Oh no, it's the evil robot.
What's the robot with that kid?
Right. Ah!
UH 型だ。小学生くらいの時に出たハウスロイド。まだいたんだ。
見たことねえぞ。
あまり流行らなかったんだよ。使いにくいって苦情が多くて。
Also, they made the children cry.
So is the music only in its head?
I like that the music just suddenly ends as it walks over.
Well, I like that it read the text in the same way that Google Image Translate does.
Yep.
Well before Google Image Translate was a thing.
Why does it have human teeth?
店に用事。僕ら客なんだけど。
I'm trying to humanize the weirdly human robot.
ははい。俺はマサキ、こいつはリクオ。
I like the awkwardness that according to the rules I'm not allowed to
普通
ask.
人間は自己紹介するもんだぜ。
We're humans. We introduce ourselves when we meet.
人間のふりしてるつもりだぜ、こいつ。
ルール守ってんだ。
そうだよ。前だよ。
私はと申します。なぜ耳を塞ぐのですか？名前をお伝えしなければ自己紹介は完了しません。つまり私が人間
I mean, clearly he's doing his best. He's a damaged robot.
私の名前は。
いいんだよ、無理にしなくても。
何をですか？
だから自己紹介。
なぜですか？正木様は先ほど。
普通人間は自己紹介するもんだぜ。
とおっしゃいましたが。
さき、こいつに曖昧な対応はダメだ。
どうすんだよ。
I'm not gonna kill. Hey, this is so ridiculous.
Well, he's missing
Okay.
information. Like, he doesn't have the kid's face anymore. Apparently, what the kid said his name was is a horrible soundbite.
いいお名前です。
I like how they stick their heads under the table and talk to each other like the robot wouldn't notice. Your head fell over.
お手洗いはどちらでしょうか？
I love how they're laughing like that robot might not go berserk and kill everybody.
あの壊れ方、あんなになるまでほっておかなくてもメーカーに修理に出すとか。
またそういう話してる。
でも今日のはさすがに。
リクオくん。
I mean, it's trying to be human.
もう分かってるでしょ？
Yeah, but don't these guys know that there's an alert out for it?
Well, no, there's a general alert for, like, all robots. The ethics committee is very clearly trying to shut down the robot of everything.
Right. So wouldn't they know that there's a report looking for a missing robot and then this one shows up? Yeah, they put two and two together.
No, I thought very specifically it was asking them to report all specific androids.
And there's no, well...
Because we got this whole thing about androids running off to a cafe. It's already... something's going down.
Right. I mean, they have no... First, they have no clients today, and then secondly, this guy shows up.
そしたら。待てよおい、第3条。ロボットは自殺できない。飲んだらやばいことくらい分かってんだろ、こいつ。
そうだよね。飲むわけないよね。
Which is weird, because if you're not supposed to know who's a human and who's a robot, but they're serving coffee, then the androids would have to drink the coffee or you would know.
何って イブレンドお待たせしました。なんで？お客様がお飲みになる
Unless there's something about the coffee that makes the androids able to do something with it. Well, the normal humanoid androids anyway. I don't know about this thing.
ちょっと待って、スイッチ切れ。やったことないよ。命令だ。命令すりゃいいだろ。あ、そっか。カップ下ろせ。命令だ。
なぜですか？
なぜって。
Because the other androids walk around in the rain just fine, apparently.
とおっしゃいました。私はお客です。
Oh, I like costume.
あ、質問。
何でしょうか？
おいくつですか？
年齢のことですね。今年で8歳になります。
は？
I am 8 years old. You know.
多分8年前に作られたってこと。
8歳の人間にしては大きいと思いましたね。
いや、んなこと。
いいえ、まさき様。そういう顔をしていました。
なんでここだけ細かいんだよ。
しかしながら私は8歳。
Ah, yeah, me.
8歳。あ、
おい、論理とルールが矛盾してる。答えられないんだ。
どうすんだよ。
いや、8歳と言っても
For the, I guess all of its computation shit is in its body.
存在するということですか？
そうそう。
私のデータ。
Well, it's a visual
教
medium.
えてください。
え？この店によく来る人なんですよ。
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
方で8歳なんですね。お名前は。
Yes, that microprocessors, when they overheat, cause steam to shoot out. That's what happens to my graphics card when it's starting to thrash.
To be fair, your graphics cards tend to run over really hot, so not impossible. Especially if you have liquid cooling.
Right, so I also see arcs of electricity and jets of steam coming out.
No, what I was saying is makes sense is to have the higher tier. Sorry, they did a little flashback there. The higher tier processing to be in the chest and not in the head. Kind of like Gundam, the head is just sensor stuff. Nothing important is up there. Maybe it is liquid cooled.
この子の昼寝の番をしてたら私まで眠りこけてしまいました。
Uh-oh. Time for child murder!
Again, it was just a general report from the ethics committee. I don't think it was about this guy.
8歳未満の方ですか？
あなたは何を言ってるんですか？
こちら様は。
こいつは猫だ。この子の口。もう猫でいいだろ。本人が言ってるんだからいいの。はい。
Oh no, multiple blue screens.
One specifically is about a cat, as you can see.
情報がかなり錯綜したのですが。
おい、大丈夫？
変なの落ちてた。
何かお手伝い。
頼むから帰ってくれ。どうだ、治るか？
これもう。
ありがとう、リコくん。でもせっかくだから楽しくお話ししましょう。じゃあずっとその家で働いてたんだ。
はい、そこが私の仕事場でした。私はご子息の世話係として雇われましたが、
I guess when there's nobody else here, you can just like break the rule.
成長されました。
Well, they can just ask him.
Well, they are. That's what I mean.
ご子息が私に名前をくださったのを今でもよく覚えています。大切な名前です。
その子の名前なんていうの？
ご子息はという名前です。
家族の名字は？住所、連絡先。
Guessing they tried to throw him away and they wiped everything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
お前。
やっぱり。
名前を聞いてくれて感謝します。
ここに来る人みんな同じ。
あなたが私を呼んだのですね。名前を忘れない。
always remember your unintelligible screech.
I would say we know its name, but that didn't get out there, so.
Apparently, android memory is volatile.
Well, to be fair, he's also, as you already pointed out, sparking all over the place, so no telling what kind of damage was being done every moment of its existence.
That's weird that they would charge a disposal fee rather than give a trade-in.
I mean, I guess it would just be for credit, because you wouldn't be trading in for the same model. You'd be wanting an upgrade. I don't know. I think it's sad. I think it's a sad state.
I mean, I think it's sad. It's just that's like I said, that's kind of weird. I can take a 20-year-old broken Kindle Fire that I have here, and Amazon will give me something for it.
Well,
they won't charge me to take it away.
I know there's plenty of pawn shops around here that won't even take a computer monitor past a certain age.
Well, they won't take the CRTs, no. But if you go take them to Best Buy or Staples, they won't charge you a fee to get rid of it. They'll give you store credit for getting rid of it.
He's not an android, is he?
No.
This guy? No, so he picked her up, and then there was a flash of light around her as though his... I don't know.
Not supposed to ask that.
I'm not in there.
And just because he thinks she's an android doesn't mean she is.
No, I'm asking if he is.
His best friend who doesn't have...
the guy who was originally trying to shut the place down.
Yeah, no, his buddy friend who just shows up at school and says he doesn't have an android at home. It's a little sus.
Whose dad is very important, and you could call on people like, okay, she is. She's that one. No, it's the idea that he looked at her, and when he pulled her back, there was like that flash of like...
Yeah.
Like he had an optical sensor go loose or something, I don't know.
That would make this interesting if his buddy friend is, passing, I guess is what you would call it.
How'd she get that information?
Yeah, how would she know that?
Well, the person running the place, he implied that she invited him here, which indicates, I guess, some sort of signal maybe she's putting out.
We'll see.
Maybe she's broadcasting stuff too?
Yeah, Asimov gets all the attention, but nobody talks about Bradbury. I've never seen that before. You take the desk lamp and you put it up against the wall when you're done with it.
So I imagine she's gonna play it at the bar? Cafe.
She might. There's a piano there, I think.
Yeah. Well, one of her memories is of the piano chair seat knocked over for some reason. So
I think she's remembering when he was learning how to play the piano.
I don't know. It's a general state of affairs that the piano is a nondescript black piano. And the one at the cafe is a nondescript black piano. So wait, did the android write down "what a pain"? Because that would be something.
No, it was it's his lazy sister saying that.
Okay, I thought it was transcribing what was written under maintenance.
What's that?
I mean, technically, we could do that right now. Assuming that the newspaper is made out of fabric and not paper.
Well, there's also LED paper, but that's just hilarious.
Oh, so she just played it last night.
Oh, those are magnets. That makes more sense. Okay.
A lot of unused space on this newspaper. Wait, isn't that his name? So this is an old newspaper?
Well, it says scrapbook, so I think it's an older article, which is weird to see in a new newspaper, but it's always funny to me when they try to put newspapers and stuff. Especially,
Still investigating.
especially today.
親父の PC の中で見つけた。アンドロイドだ。人間の親になるためのな。
こんなの聞いたこと。
実際に出回ってるわけじゃねえ。将来的には実現したいって話だ。
So he's a cutting edge android, not even on the market.
心当たりあるよな。
別にあの人がそうと決まったわけじゃ。
たく何でもかんでもロボットが割り込んできやがって。芸術の次は愛情だな。
Yeah.
masaki.
I mean, they're so obsessed with the robot there, but I like the social commentary here of the kids aren't learning anything in class because you're just bossing the robot around.
Yeah, I guess it's surprising that they don't even have a human observer. You know, kind of like when you have a student teacher, you still have somebody else in the class observing the student teacher.
Yeah, or it's Japan. They would have standardized testing. You'd think that eventually they would do the test, and if they don't pass, they would ask, "What's wrong with you, idiots?" Who do they have pour overs?
いらっしゃい。今日は一人？
別にいつも一緒じゃん。
一緒でしょ？
Now the couple's back.
しめさん、ちょっと用事で。
It feels like it'd be really easy to find this place. All you have to do is find the person supplying them with all the branded plates and dishes.
Basically.
何してるの？ちえちゃん一人にして。
猫だもん。そんなこと言わないの。
はいはい。お父さん、早く帰ってくるといいね。
お父さんじゃないもん。
じゃあ何？
養育、里親っていうの。戻ってきたよ、ちいちゃん。猫なの。リクワくん。あれ、まさきくんは？
だからいつも一緒じゃん。
一緒でしょ？
I feel like it'd be easier to get away with the whole "Are you an android?" thing if they weren't all like cheekily indicating to him who they are in the real world. Well, she walks down the school hallway and like gives him a smirk even when she's got the thing around her top of her head. Like,
うまいんだ、子供の相手。
大人だからね、アキコは。私と違って。
しめさんって何してる人？
私も知らないの。ちえちゃんを溺愛してる以外はね。
一緒に連れて行けばいいのに。
多分辛いのはしめさんの方。なんとなくわかるの。もう何度も預かってるから。
also, this all started because his android comes here,
毎月ね。
and then he comes here every day and hasn't seen her yet.
大丈夫？
Well, ostensibly she changed her schedule so she won't be here when he is.
どうせ僕は嫌なやつだよ。
何よそれ。
Which does mean that when she said she was going for maintenance, she really did go for maintenance.
生まれたばっかりだと
Or something
I
else.
mean, maybe, because the other ones won't update.
でもね、
But I figure there's a reason for that.
いろんなものを見て感じてそうするとだんだん心ができてくるんだって。そうだよ。でもまだまだ
Even with cats.
これからもっといろんな心ができてくるんだって。ちえちゃんだけじゃなくて、しめいさんも僕たちもそれから。
リクオさん。
Even nosy assholes.
I mean, he's better than his friend is. His friend's going out of his way to try and, like, finger everybody as the android or not.
Yeah.
He's at least got a little bit of buy-in.
一人でどこかに行っちゃうんだよね。どこ行ってるんだろうね。寂しがってるのに。
リコくん大人げないんだから。
ごめん。
トイレ。ああ、いい？今度はちえちゃんの番ね。
Yeah, the old man one is the confusing one, I think. If he's a test model for, like, childcare,
yep.
How, if he's out and about, he's what, supposed to be taking care of somebody right now?
Well, like, apparently, yeah, and drags the kid to the cafe.
Assuming that that's the kid he's supposed to be taking care of. If he had to run out right now, maybe he's back taking care of the kid he's supposed to be taking care of.
僕が人間だから嫌なやつだってことですか？面白いことを言うな、君は。ロボットなら絶対に相手を傷つけないとでも。
Third generation artificial intelligence.
そう簡単にわかることじゃない。その時どう考える？どうすれば傷つけずに済むか、何を理解すればいいのか。言葉にすれば身も蓋もない話だな。
リコさん。私はリコさんに救われました。
そうなんだ。
I have to maybe assume that this isn't an everyday thing.
But he doesn't come to the cafe every day?
Yeah.
じゃあ司法関係に進むんだ。
ロボット法の専門弁護士ってまだ少ないらしいし。
Because I don't think that these guys could be here every day. By which I mean the androids that are here every day.
もうやめる。
Because either they come here whenever they can, and they don't have, like, the ability to live the existence that they want to live in the outside world, or they just live here. In which case, they're not coming and going at all.
すごくうまかった。感動したかも。
これにか？
あれ？
下手だな。
そっか。
Oh, the void.
And once again, also the implication that they're replacing dead kids, or missing kids, and or grandparents, not specifically him, because we know it's not him, then anybody could be replaced.
Yeah, but that hasn't really come up yet.
Well, I mean, like, maybe the mother and father of this guy are distant, because he's just a replacement kid that they stopped caring about at some point. The Astro Boy situation, as it were.
前に何度か聞いたことがあるだけで。
Technically playing his song, so maybe he's gonna get angry. She's getting famous off of his music.
And everything's branded.
Maybe it's subversive programming? I mean, like, maybe the androids see it and there's like some sort of subtext written into it that lures them here, and that's how they find it?
That would be neat, but I don't think that's true.
Unfortunately, the only real point of view we've seen is that one really old style android robot. Well, why would you want your property to get rained on, even if you thought it was nothing?
I know!
I mean, not a good look
Because
when you already know that she's self-aware anyway.
And she's wearing clothes.
You don't want your
That's
android to get moldy.
I know. Just a reminder, subtlety is for cowards.
And who knows what their hair is made of.
リクオさん。私、昔リクオさんが弾いてたのを、好きで、そしたら、ちえちゃんが聞きたいって。でも、ちゃんと弾いたことなくて、それでも、楽しそうに聞いてくれるから、勝手なことして、ごめんなさい。
I mean, when she stole it from his room, it was like one line on a sheet.
That's still a song.
Yeah, I mean, technically, but it's not a very long one.
お前の前では弾かないようにしてた。気がついたら弾かなくなってた。お前までピアノ上手くなったら嫌だし。
リクオさん。
Is it because it was that guest robot that played as last performance and he felt shown up by the superior abilities of robots?
What you said.
And that's how you can tell this is in the past. What child is entertained by... This same child probably entertained by wooden toys.
いや嬉しい。あの子があんなに喜んだのは本当に久しぶりです。
僕は別に。
それに引き換え、私はまたあの子を一人にしてしまいました。
連れて行けないんですか?
Wait, which one of them said every human has a special skill?
シメさん、もしかしてあなたは。
私はあの子に必要とされています。だから私はあの子のために尽くします。あの子は私のすべて。
I specifically love anime that when they throw like pieces of paper on desks and everything, that you can like zoom in and read what's on the thing. So I appreciate that it was all clearly Japanese and not just like blurry lines of nothing.
Well, that's because we live in the CG era. Like I remember when people would zoom in on Full Metal Alchemist text, and they were just copies of Dungeons and Dragons rules.
Oh no, I've been doing Gundam Seed, and it's literally news articles from the year that the show was released.
Yeah, they just copy and paste it, just grab it randomly.
I hit that so often; it's so annoying. Whereas I watch 86, for example, and they get like terrible orders to go attack something, and then you zoom in on the papers, and they're literally suicide orders to get these people killed.
お疲れ様。
サミーって。
何?
Oh, I got paid in exposure.
別に怒ってないよ。
かっこよかった。
この店。
Again, they must have some sort of internal heating mechanism.
ありがとう。リックオくん。
そうだ。その件は次の報告会で説明するつもりだ。
ただいま。
とにかく聴取に目を通してくれ。上の連中が何と言おうと、 全ての対象を簡易調査するにはこの方法がベストなはずだ。
The tears are a nice touch.
I say sometimes I got face blindness. I didn't recognize for a moment that this was the other guy.
お父さんは
家庭裁判所に出かけています。予定ではそろそろご帰宅されるはずです。
絶対お母さん悪くないよ。
そうですね。でもお父さんだけを責めてはいけませんよ。どちらか一方が完全に悪いわけではないのですから。
でも
私からのお願いです。
はーい。
この話はお父さんには内緒にしましょう。
なんで？
お父さんが傷つくからです。それは嫌でしょ？では。
So I've seen the guy in the background. I have to wonder if he told the robot to say this.
困ったよ、正和。壊れてしまったのかな。
Oh, don't want you talking to my kid anymore. I saw what you said yesterday. Ripped that out.
ねえ、テックス、テックス、テックス。
I suppose all the worse because we know that he's removing the mother from the situation, leaving Tex as the only one this kid had to deal with.
多すぎるな。1408箇所です。あらゆる情報を収集し、すべてデータ化しました。根拠のない噂話や都市伝説程度のものも含まれていると思われます。
もう少し絞るべきだな。残念なことにこれらの施設がはっきりとロボット法に抵触しているとは限りません。グレーゾーンです。そして対象がこれだけの数に上るという事実が今のロボット法の限界でもあります。だが消し去るべき場所だ。これらの施設すべてに簡易調査を行い、
Alright, so more than one cafe.
調査の対象へと格上げします。メディアで吊るし上げるのはそれからです。だからこの数では到底不可能だと言ってるんだ。人材という観点から考えればそうですが、今回は初めて簡易調査にアンドロイドを使用します。すでに相当数の機体を確保。ただいま準備中です。
Send androids in to spy on the androids.
Oh, so the guy who sits there and pretends to read all day is actually a plant.
裏付けが取れた案件のみを本調査リストに加えます。さらにその際、現場で目撃した人間、アンドロイドすべて
If I also recall correctly, his name and model type are also callbacks.
APC の動向は？
事前調査を嗅ぎ回っていた人物がいるとの情報が入っています。APC との関係性は不明。またロビー活動はこのところ沈静化している模様です。
聞いての通り、この調査にかこつけて上げ足を取ろうとする連中がいることを忘れないでいただきたい。アンドロイド調査員には本調査と倫理委員会の関係を極秘事項にするよう絶対命令を徹底します。あの傷害事件の記憶が風化している今、同じ過ちは決して犯してはならん。
Yeah. Susan Calvin is a fictional character from Isaac Asimov. So his name of Calvin is supposed to be a call out from that. In that she appears apparently in a number of Asimov's robot stories.
Yep. This also predates Detroit Become Human by about a decade.
Yeah, but as much as I'd like to give it credit, it's probably the first time I've seen this kind of story. It's not.
Oh, well, this is
not. Yeah, say this is also not that kind of like unique story either. So I'm just the first.
No, it's well, it's they're using robots as a metaphor for other kinds of
最近来ないね、まさきくん。
But once again, like I said, it's young adult entertainment, so it's going to be painted broad strokes.
まあ一番の原因は
Right, and as I said, this is the first time I saw something like this on a screen before.
倫理委員会の母体となる組織は、ロボットが一般家庭に普及し始めた当初から存在していた。もう10年以上前か。当時はかなり過激なロボット排斥団体だったと聞いている。
全然知らなかった。
ここ数年鳴りを潜めていたからな。
どういうことですか？
昔その過激さゆえに傷害事件を起こしたことがあってね。
それって時坂事件のことですよね。聞いたことあります。
まあ事故とも言われているが、いずれにせよ世間からの非難は必至。責任取って当時の会長は辞任。それ以来少なくとも最近まではおとなしかったというわけだ。
難しい話で、それがまさきくんと関係あんの？まさき。
Yeah, so your best friend's working against you.
今日も誘ったんだけど。
まさきって名字だった。
Yep.
そっちですか？
そっちじゃない。
よう、元気か？イブの時間。
Wow! That's cold. He just removed Tex's ability to talk.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was implying before.
I thought maybe he wiped the memory, but no, he just removed it.
Yeah.
And it learned to cry. That's what's cracking me up. It somehow knows how to cry.
I don't know. I would think, given what we've seen of all the other ones, if this guy just got left out in the rain or some shit.
He got left out in the rain, and it just happened to leave markings on his face that looks like tears.
I'm sorry, who did you say subtlety was for?
I know. It's just hilarious. Oh my god, there's a second book. You're not my real dad.
そうか。口に入れるものはあまりロボット任せにするなよ。DHX。
I don't know. He took their mother to court, and we haven't seen her ever.
いつでも来てって言ってね、まさきくんに。
うん、言っとく。あんまり期待しない。
How would Tex get down the stairs?
また来てね。
That's what I was thinking. Also, Tex doesn't look like they're an outdoor model because they have that instrument panel that's just open.
Yeah, no, I was just trying real hard to search for an excuse for him to have tears. Because also he seems to have the eyes that have like the dome thing over top of them, which means it would never go in that direction anyway.
リコくんのことはどうでもいいんだけどさ。そんな言い方しないでしょ。そうなんだ。リコくんに変なこと吹き込まないでね。まさきくん、告げ口したりしないよね。
Yep, totally would.
Well, I mean, I don't think so.
Even if he wouldn't report this place, he's a security risk.
Well, I mean, he's
Naturally,
trying to bring
there's
Tex here. Plus, the
Yeah.
dad already has, you know, infiltration bot there in the back of the room.
Yeah.
なぎさんが呼んでくれたのかと思った。
Dun, dun, dun.
私には誰も連れてくることなんてできない。あなたにイブの時間を教えたのは多分ここに来たことのある誰か。そしてそんなサミちゃんが陸を
Well, that doesn't make sense, though. Because she has that one divergent memory, which is from the other robot that came here after she came here.
It's like the robots are all networked together.
I mean, it's either that or the scenes that we're seeing are out of order.
ここはね、みんなの心一つで成り立つお店。私は見届けたいだけ。この輪がどこまで広がっていけるのか。
Oh, red means normal. So what's green mean?
I think they're red when they're in idle mode and green when they're doing something.
まさき様に
Well, when we were zoomed in on her head, well, can't do it here, but it said normal when the red was going.
Then I don't know.
Yeah, we've never been zoomed in when it was green before, so I can't tell.
I just don't know why, it's a halo, except that they just didn't want to be subtle.
Or, what's displaying the halo.
The robot uses a PC. But I guess he's spying on human activity, so he would probably do that.
I mean, I guess it's just the easiest shorthand to tell us what he's seeing, concerning he just plug himself into the computer and...
That is true. And also, like I say, he's spying on a human account. But I did like the fact that he just sped right through it.
また来てほしいって言ってたよ。
適当なこと言うな。
Nope.
本当だって。
誰がだよ。
ナギさんとか、サミーも言ってた。あいつも来てほしいって。
Dun, dun,
来てほ
dun.
しいって。なんだよ。ハウスロイドだぜ。
そうだよ。
I think it's just that normal trope of I was hurt by a robot, so now I don't like robots. And that he's emotionally hurt that Tex stopped talking to him. Yeah, see. Even though it's not Tex's fault.
いつか裏切られる。あんな店ない方がいいだろ。そうだ。ない方がいい。
See? He's got a fake on you.
That's exactly what I said near the beginning. Is it ethical to teach your kids to hate? Because literally, what his dad did to Tex has caused him to become who his dad is.
THX がいなくなった。masakazu、何か命令したのか？
いや。
勝手にいなくなるなんて完全にイカれたか。早いところ見つけて処分しないとな。
処分？
当たり前だ。
It also makes sense that it's like a social status thing that everybody has a robot in their house, but these people who hate robots, or at least the dad who hates robots, would have like the earliest model possible to still have the social status while still risking as little as possible.
Yep. Driving piles outside. Yeah, notice their place isn't as nice as his friends. I mean, he's got the steel furniture and the crowded room. And the police raid. Oh.
No, obviously it's Tex. We need help getting Tex down the stairs.
おい、なんだって？
この店ってグレーゾーンなんでしょ？こっちに来てお得意のロボット法でなんとかしてくれないかななんて。
早っ。
Tex is trying to shut them down.
Tex?
What? How did that work?
Well, I mean, it was just an alert.
お前、なんでここに?
Also implies he could have put text on a screen at any moment. So he's been silent for no reason.
人んちのロボットを勝手に連れてきて三文芝居でも見せようってかお前らは。どうやって連れてきたのか知らねえけどさ。まああれだろ。陸王のロボットも連れてきたくらいだ。いろいろとできんだろ。
It might be that Tex is reprogrammed that he can't actually say anything.
I assume they like cut it. Like he had a voice box sort of thing and they cut it. But also this is the guy who told Tex about this place.
昔こいつに育てられた。 誰よりも仲が良かったな。ある時こいつは突然喋らなくなった。ガキ
How
だった俺は
dumb are
家族と思
you?
ってたこいつに裏切られて
Dumb enough.
傷ついたわけだ。
Dumb enough that the story has a plot.
喋らないのはきっと理由があるんじゃないかな。
私もそう思います。彼はそこまで壊れている状態には見えません。
Also, I mean, I understand that we're dealing with real issues here, but we all forget the rule.
BD ball?
親父が命令したんだ。何があっても喋るなってな。俺とこいつを引き
No,
離そう
we're calling Tex it.
親父のやりそうなこと
Like, I know it's clearly a robot, but
まさきくんは聡明でらっしゃる。
ガキの頃は分かんなかったんだよ。こいつとまた話すためなら何でもした。泣いて謝ったこともあんだぜ。俺は。
because I would think if they're like breaking programming or learning their own programming, it would have talked.
泣きわめく子供だって無視できんだよ。
So it has to be a physical problem.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought too.
こいつらは人の心なんて分かりゃしないんだ。
Get over the tears on its face.
Okay, it wasn't the guy you thought it was. It's a whole new model. Same face, I guess.
現場で目撃した人間、アンドロイドすべてを拾う検挙を促します。
消し去るべき場所だ。
Yeah, it's this guy.
Plug your finger into the computer. Okay, there we go.
今からこの店のルールを破ります。あなたはロボット法第9条第3項に抵触しています。なぜなら私が保持するデータによると、あなたはアンドロイドであり、アンドロイドが起動中にリングを消すのはロボット法違反に当たるからです。
What does this help? It literally saw everybody here already. Its only job is to report them.
親父の命令はどうなってんだ。
I don't know.
命令を破る。第2条を破る。第2条を破れるのは第1条だけ。第1条。危険。
So where was this not breaking harm during the 5 years that the child was crying at you?
I mean, I understand why it's doing this. Because he's an actual, like, legal harm at the moment, I guess. I guess legal harm supersedes emotional harm.
That and also, you know, Dad may have explained it to the robot.
法的措置を講じる必要があります。あなたの管理者の情報を求めます。
本調査と倫理委員会の
But, you know, I mean, I'm totally on your side about this is the thing that makes you talk.
That is interesting that an android infiltrator would be breaking the law because by definition it would have to operate. But I would think that they would just change the laws. Or quote some sort of exemption. Like they would
Well, I don't think the ethics committee is actually a government entity.
Right, so the ethics committee would just have some sort of loophole.
No, I'm saying they're not a government entity because they've got accused of causing harm to somebody before, and they had to go like underground, and now they're coming back. I think they're
That
just
would
like,
explain yeah, that would explain why they run advertisements because they just buy ad space.
"話しかけることはできなくて、ずっとそばにいたくて、私
well, don't let him go.
私はずっと正和くんのことを
And now you're all fucked.
Yep. Mental freeze.
Well, I mean,
which is also an Asimov thing.
Yeah, well, it also kind of just realized that everything it was working for just kind of got fucked up. Yeah, so in kind of like a lot of ways, Tex was his real dad.
この子まさきくんを守りたかったんじゃないかな。
分かってるよ。
Meanwhile, the android leaves.
危険が去ったら喋れない。こいつはまだ親父の命令に縛られたままだ。
Oh, okay, so it was actually not breaking programming. It could only talk while there was danger.
でもな、やっぱ納得できねえよ。
今は無理かもしれないけど、いつかきっと喋れるようになるよ。
適当なこと言うな。
I mean, this could cause some real problems. Like, this kid could start putting himself in danger all the time so he can talk to his best friend.
Well, he just needs to get priority access.
Although, if you could teach Tex that you're going to do that, well, I guess they printed it out.
進んでる方向は間違ってない。
If you could teach Tex that you're going to put yourself in danger every time you want to talk to Tex, then the implication of stopping you from doing that in the first place could cause Tex to talk.
Well, he just needs to get super user access. But that, once again, would be treating the robots like they were computers and not like philosophical objects.
There's also the element that Tex can just push his finger into like a USB port and print words.
Well, I think Tex is smart, like, would know that he's not supposed to communicate.
Except that the programming, I don't know. He tried hand gesturing shit while he wasn't able to talk, so it very much seems like a just can't talk thing.
Well, that's because he was trying to report that this robot was harming the cafe. Which, yes, I admit could be, you know, sort of a runaround on that, but...
But again, how are you going to get it up the stairs? And the music stopped, too.
That's a cute choice.
There you go.
There we go!
いつか今日の礼を言わせてやるからな。
I'm glad they made an attempt to answer that.
ここにいることができて。一緒に帰ってるよ。いいの。
They're going off to have freaky robot sex! Now they have to explain sex to the kid.
手助けするべきでしたか。
いいえ、見届ければそれでいい。
Oh, so this guy was one of them, too.
This the good guy robot? Is this the marionettes?
それくらい分かってるはずよ。
I don't... We saw them in a flashback beating a robot, so I don't think so.
Okay, that's right. That's right. This was his person's face.
1138我が国のロボットフォースら上回る命令優先コード。これで説明がつくはずよ。
Couldn't make it code 66, huh?
I got as far as guidelines 4 and they didn't see the rest of those.
そんなことできる人間が塩月以外に。
しかし、
もう一つ。
時坂事件、当時の記事ですか。
The kid that got hurt was the kid that's at the cafe?
本当の記事よ。当時5歳の少女。
Dun dun dun!
Well, I said, assuming she's still alive, I don't know if that means she's a machine now or not. Or if he just took her there to keep her safe, and she is still, well, she was 5 years old at the time, that happened in the past, she's still a kid, must be a machine.
Well, she isn't 5 years old anymore.
I don't know how old she is. One, this is anime. How old is anybody?
She's not 5.
No. In the newspaper, she was 5 years old when the incident happened when she got injured.
Right.
So however long ago that was to now, I don't know how old this girl is now.
I think they said it was 8 years ago, but don't hold me to that. But that would put her like 13, 14, or 15 years old.
Right, implying that she is a robot version, or they didn't know that the original was a robot. I don't know.
Where are you getting robot? If she was 5 years old then, and it's 10 years later, and she's not 5 years old anymore, she's not a robot.
What are you talking about? The little girl in the cafe is the one that was in the newspaper picture. I don't know what you're talking about.
I thought it was the shop owner.
I mean, maybe. I thought it was the little girl. I thought it was explaining the little girl who got injured. Because for me, it's more impactful if the little girl... Well, by the way, I guess this is the credit thing. The incident.
Yeah,
so maybe we're arguing for nothing. Maybe it's about to tell us.
Yeah, no, it's the shop owner's the little girl.
I mean, that makes sense too, so I'm obviously not going to argue against it.
Alright.
I thought the impact was going to be stronger if a little girl got hurt, but I guess it did.
Yeah.
It was a little girl who got hurt. Oh, who's this? The white-haired person?
Possibly. You've got to learn how to walk again.
But then why did the... No, okay, it's a dad. Or a robot. No, it's a robot.
Robot with a soul patch.
Here's the problem. Here's my main problem with any of this. It completely eliminates the possibility of people with prosthetics. Any complicated prosthetic, and I'm instantly going to think they're a robot.
Yes.
So yeah, obviously, you were right.
So basically the entire anime is supposed to be a metaphor for you could remove the robots and replace them with a domestic servant class or something like that and tell the whole story. They're just using robots because it's more acceptable to use robots as a metaphor.
Oh,
otherwise
okay, he was the owner of the other one, the white-haired guy.
Yeah. How dare you be cool, Dad? With your soul patch and unkempt hair.
Well, the thing is I guess that he recognizes that she's the one that's done that because of the newspaper article, but at the same time, he cleared them of the investigation on his little computer right there at the very end.
Well, he has to protect his own flesh and blood.
Right, but he's also the one in the memory beating robots, so I don't I can't, parse the two things together.
Well, this is having a problem that a lot of anime have where it wants to grapple with complex issues, but it's not subtle about it, and it's often way too direct in other ways, so it can't handle this complexity.
I also think that I possibly was smarter 14 years ago.
Well, I haven't seen the OVA, which would have a lot more to say. I don't like to use the brush of it's young adult entertainment, so it doesn't have to be smart, because I don't think it's fair to a young adult market. I think what they are trying to do is they're trying to grapple with social class issues of domestics, versus aristos, and post singer. Ooh, CG door.
No, that thing that I just mentioned.
潮の香りはしないけど、今の店も好きよ。街だからいろんな子が集まるの。
みんな元気かい？
うん。悲しい顔してる。
あの子が足森に壊されてからずっと不安なんだ。みんな幸せになれるのかな？何回試しても。今度の場所、何度目だ？ 3度目、4度目。みんな笑えるようになるのか？僕は。
あなたの子供たちは笑ってる。人間と一緒に。
不安でたまらないんだ。
大丈夫。 いつかきっとお店だけじゃなくて。今日ね、
Oh, the room that we kept seeing.
思えることがあったの。
Yep.
聞かせてくれないか。
主人公はある男の子。だから今日のお話はね。
Yeah, the idea that this is, well, like they even ended the cafe part with that's just one story, and then we're being introduced here that this whole thing is just one story in the whole Time of Eve cafe thing. Even though, unfortunately, there are no other stories. It does set itself up as like a good setup for more.
Yeah, well, there is more room. So yeah, no, it definitely is a showcase for. I think the directing was good. The character design is that middling period where we're going from the outrageous designs of the 90s and the 2000s to the more modest designs that you see today, where they're making an attempt to make the characters look more believable with better hair and better tones. And the environmental design looked good. There obviously was a lot of craft in that. I think we're both in agreement here that they're trying to tell a complicated story, but they're often like falling over because they want to do it very broad.
Well, if I would like compare this to the OVA, the
Right.
OVA were very specifically about each encounter at the cafe. So each individual element of the story had its own focus, and then here we're combining elements together to compact the story in to make it fit within the timeline of a movie.
Yeah, I think it worked. I think there are elements of the movie that want to trust us, like just those flash frames of guy beating a child because he thinks it's a robot, or hints of like the robot's shared memory, like the whole robot showing up and not being able to pronounce its own name, and then no one ever figures out its name. Parts like that I thought were good. They trusted the audience. But then there's other parts where it doesn't trust the audience, and like the characters have to over-explain stuff, and that kind of stuff was too clunky, and so it's like parts of this were pretty good, and parts of this I thought were just.
I mean, I can see that still, though. The parts where you trust the audience, right, are the parts that aren't. They aren't important to the end of the story. They are narratively fulfilling, like emotional payoffs, sort of things. If you get it, you get it. But if you don't, you're not lost. Well, I mean, you're not lost for everything, but to the parts that we want you to understand, that you have to understand to get the movie, yeah, we can't trust you, or we can't risk you not getting it. You have to get it.
And that doesn't resonate with me, because I think that the parts where they did trust us, I think, like involve. In order to make me feel involved, to get me to feel and care about the movie, they're supposed to like challenge me to engage with the material. And so those points where it is showing me things and making me try to interpret them, like once again, the robot shows up and it can't pronounce its own name and then dies without telling anybody, that's poignant. But then, there's other ones with the characters to over-explain, like, I couldn't talk before, but now he can, and now I understand everything. Asimov's laws. It isn't trusting me, and then I feel like passive. And like I said, this metaphor of, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? And I would have rather seen more of the former.
Well, again, though, my thing is that I saw this long before anything else. Like, I didn't get nailed to the ground with so much Asimov stuff back in the day. And also, I wasn't reading Asimov, right? So,
right,
hearing the 3 laws, this would have been like one of my first times. So,
well, and the Asimov thing hurts it. Like, Asimov was writing before the microprocessor, in fact, before the transistor effect. So his idea that the robots would be bound by philosophy was because the concept of programming didn't exist yet. And so his stories are good, but, now we live in an era where programming does exist. They reference Rico in the anime. Uh, the instead of I wouldn't mind if they were informed by Asimov, but by invoking Asimov, it would be like, if we were watching an anime about spaceships and they kept talking about steam trains.
I mean, my very first anime was Galaxy Express 999, so it's space travel via train. Which I watched on this channel before too, as a callback to the mid '90s.
Point taken.
But no, I mean, like a lot of the references in the show were to Asimov. Apparently, one of them that I didn't see, even though I was looking out for it, is the CPU used by Calvin 4 is RUR.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, Rossum's Universal Robots.
Yeah, Rossum's Universal Robots, which, by the way, are not mechanical.
Yeah, no, they're slaves. But I mean,
no,
that's the Czech word for robota, meaning forced labor, so...
Right. You're right. The original Rossums, they're biological constructs, but the later robot became mechanical. Yeah, but an RUR references like I said, the whole thing of like it's a Rico file format was they just did a text dump and looked at that. The whole thing of where the location tracking, it's like where they said move from here to here. They know what location tracking is, that you're reporting, because that's what location tracking is. It's reporting the IPs of the devices that you're interfacing with. So it doesn't tell you where anyone is. It's telling you what wireless devices they're currently talking to or cell towers they're talking to. And then you just look up where the cell tower is. You cross-reference that, which implies that the robot is actually on a constant wireless connection, which means that if we already know the ethics committee knows about the robot cafe, but since the ethics committee is not an actual committee, it's not an actual government organization, it's a political action group, that's why they're not acting against it.
Well, I mean, there's also the implication that the cafe is blocking itself or something. Because in the movement line, whatever the cafe is at is no movement line.
Right. Well, they don't have wireless in the cafe, which it's not an internet cafe.
Well, I mean, they would have to. How else would they get the kid's drawing of the robot that had no name? Or the memory of that robot as well from the girl that wasn't even there.
Right. Well, hello. I'm Norman Rafferty, and I will always go to the Occam's razor. The simplest excuse is bad writing.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm just going by like that's why I can compare it to Detroit. It's like they have a thing they want to have happen, so they just make it happen for the impact. Like, I'm willing to give Tex the whole thing of Tex can't talk anymore. I'm willing to let that slide because we didn't see what Dad did. Apparently, Dad said you're not to talk to my son anymore. And so that's why Tex has to go through the elaborate ruse of reporting the cafe, hoping that by going and sending off this alarm at the cafe, it will force... the robot went to the cafe because the robot wanted to out the spy. That's why it went there. And so it's showing up. Now, why it shows up and does the alarm immediately, you'd think the robot would sit there and wait for the spy to show up and then act against the spy. But somehow it wants to lure its master there, possibly because it wants to communicate. I'm not sure. That, I thought, worked better than some of the other bits. I'm like, your excuse of why can't the robot, if it can display text, why can't it communicate? Well, no, it's been ordered not to talk.
Yeah, apparently only when he's in danger. So I will say the majority of the stuff that I remembered from the OVA, again, some 14 years ago watching this, is mostly the concept of who's an android, who's not an android, and how could you tell, that sort of thing.
Right. And I could see that's what they were going for, because they wanted to do a kind of metaphor like, okay, it's 2024, so I can't help but notice that that's a metaphor for LGBT issues right there, because you can't tell who's passing or what someone's sexuality is or anything like that necessarily, especially if they're passing. So having an LGBT friendly cafe where people could find other people of the same thing, or even like, the thing I'm always harping on, that like vampire fiction and that kind of stuff is often just veiled erotica. It's people into divergent sexuality. But we can't just write a book about suburbanites having weird kinky sex. They must be vampires. So we can't just write about, people into non-normative relationships. They have to be robots.
I don't know. I'm a bit dense most of the time. I see things base as they are, or as they're written, rather.
Well, and while there might be hints of that in the OVA, which we didn't watch, this movie wanted to do the class thing. They wanted to do the class division of, can servants and masters mix together if we remove the labels of servant and master? Can people like understand each other and know better? That's what this movie was about. This movie wasn't
Mr. Darcy's
about that
calling
kind of stuff.
downstairs.
Right. So while it did strike me that the OVA was probably, like that's what they originally wanted to do, was the weird sex stuff, and instead they're going to do the weird class stuff. So that's what this movie wanted to do. So I would be interested to see the OVA, because even though I'm pretty sure that the OVA does broad strokes, once again, it's supposed to be that kind of romance. When we talk about romantic, when something is romantic instead of realistic, it's using a broad brush or using like larger than life or strange coincidences and unlikely stuff to tell something better. Well, not better, but more obviously or more grandiose than you would necessarily see, to make it more accessible and perhaps to make it more fun. And so I could easily see the roots of that, but that's not what this movie was.
I suppose there's also an element of time at play, in that this was so unique and good to me at the time because there wasn't anything else out there really like it that I can recall. And there are many things out there now. The space is wide open, that the concepts here that may have been unique at the time may have been refined through use and different directors and different styles and different mediums that don't look kindly into the past.
It is true that a lot of the anime that we're watching are big crowd pleasers. They're designed to sell merchandise, and often to a more young adult audience. So often what we've been seeing, isn't trying for something more complex. So I do appreciate that the story wanted to tell a more complex, a world full of complicated characters with no easy solutions. I do like the fact there's no easy solution. Oh, there's a victory here. Hey, the spy. They had to leave.
I do think if you were looking for more complex, the other thing that I told you at the very start that I've watched of his, Pale Cocoon, I don't feel, again, I am the base. I watch what's on the screen, and I try to interpret what's on the screen. Pale Cocoon, I don't know if it has a message to tell. Maybe one day, if you ever watch it, you could tell me. But it is very complex. At least it felt like it to me. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of Paranoia Agent, and while Paranoia Agent has a lot of in-your-face type stuff, there's a lot of stuff that it won't get into.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I do enjoy complexity, specifically one that I can puzzle about and try and figure out. That's what I do with all the other ones, is that I make concept boards of character relationships, try to figure out who's where, doing what time. I try to figure out mysteries. Or at least, what happens to be the case sometimes on a bad show, I invent mysteries to make things make sense, where they don't, because of bad writing. Macross 7 be my example there.
It was, like I said, it was good, and it also, it shows a divide, because when I try to go back to watch 20th century anime with the broad brushes, the blues, the reds, the the xerography obvious in the pencil strokes. And then you go to this 2008 anime that's like, ooh, modern, everything's CG. Look how clean the lines are. Look how people can move. And also the CG was used very well in this, like, because they went through and rotoscoped it, they made the cell shade techniques. Then the older robots, well, it helps with the robots, but also like the money shots, like when they go down the stairwell and they do this like camera tilt, it didn't take you out of it. It still looked like, the elements meshed together. It's not like the infamous Golgo 13 from the 80s.
Which I've never seen.
Or what was that giant spaceship anime that was driving me crazy that I hated with the I can't talk to people, but actually I can. They're jamming the radio, but they're not really jamming the radio.
Oh, Legends of Galactic Heroes. I knew these specifically.
Yeah, Legend of Galactic Heroes, and that was later than this, but that didn't blend to their CG and
yeah. Well, I mean, that was also a
well
remake of a 1980s anime.
Well, we just watched a remake of even though it was a remake, it didn't have to look like that.
Oh yeah, no. I just mean to him. Ironically, since me and Lessons are watching the 1980s version of Legend of Galactic Heroes, the thing that he doesn't like there is that when ships get destroyed in an explosion in space, it's almost just like a poof of smoke. They're gone.
Oh, they're not doing it usually. I grew up on Spaceship Commando, so usually what they do is you hit the ship. There's a point of impact, and then the magazine explodes, blowing the ship. Is that what he's complaining about?
No, there's like no additional explosion. Like you're same thing. The thing hits the ship maybe like indicates that it's like about to break or something, and poof, smoke. Just like white. I mean, not even not like an explosion animation, just like literal smoke. My only justification is these are massive space battles of thousands of ships. Maybe it's just the artist's shorthand to be able to just do thousands of these per shot.
Gotta stretch that budget. Maybe someday we'll watch. Well, I'm not sure if we should watch Dot Hack Sign because I hate that anime, and that is one of the most penny pinching animes I've ever seen.
Oh, I've watched. I think I've seen all of Dot Hack Sign, the original season. And then I watched whatever it was that came with the video game, because there was an anime version of it that came with the video game, which deals with the people in the real world dealing with all of their friends and whatnot going into comas, because that's what happens to people in Dot Hack Sign. Right. I mean, I like it, but it is very much a wake me up when we're done with the landscape.
Yeah, Dot Hack Sign is the most. I could not get over. Just every technique is there.
Well, I mean, it's like I guess like we couldn't pay for the voice actor for half of the episode, so he's going to mope around in silence and really think about things.
Oh, the voice actor is the lowest cost. It's like it was the studio and the director. In fact, the director, I forget who it was offhand, but that studio is famous for low bidding and delivering animation on a budget. And so, Dot Hack has the Dot Hack Sign has great screenshots and looks good, but yeah, they knew where to spend the money. And so they start using all those things.
Take a shot of Dot Hack Sign, turn it into a video file, send it to you, and I don't think anybody would be able to guess, is this a shot from the show or is this a screenshot that I turned into a video file?
Yeah. Now, the although we just watched, also didn't have a lot of locations. Now, they didn't. It wasn't quite at the era where they 3D modeled the cafe. Like I could easily see that maybe if they did this today, they would have 3D modeled the cafe and then shot different static angles from it and rotoscoped it. They probably wouldn't do a lot of zooming shots. I mean, but I would think that if they did 3D model it, they would have done at least one of those. So I'm pretty sure each one of those was hand painted. But
I don't know.
Because
we kind of got every angle of the place. We got the initial shot from the entrance, so you could see the back. You got the back shot, so you could see to the front. The only shot I could think of that we didn't get from perspective-wise would have been from the piano outwards.
Right, and so but they didn't 3D model it. If they did 3D model it, they must have taken still shots and painted over it.
You would know more than me in that field too. So
yeah, well, it's 2008, 2010, so it's in that border category. I would think if they would have done that, they would have had at least, because they had one of the stairwell. They when the stairwell, they did a 3D shot of that. So I would have thought they would have thrown more of that in there. Once again, like you said, it's transition.
The only reason why I would even suspect that they maybe might have is that we did a number of 180 shots from different perspectives at different locations within the cafe. The book where the books were being read, we did a 180 shot from there. From the entrance, as you already suggested, we did a 180 shot from there, and I think we did one from the very middle where all the drinks are had. So that's a lot of animating those specific shots if we didn't have like a set model.
Yeah, well, I think it's on display. Like they did a good job with the evil computer, and also there's the loop of the giant aquarium TV. So they and because it's 2010, that a symbol. Like I've been going back and watching like the 90s type stuff, like when they want to do computers, like when Evangelion wants to do computers, it's all backlit text on RubyLith, backlit from behind because they can't do all that kind of fancy windows opening and closing that would cost more money. Whereas in this, it's just, we just have a video loop, and anytime we need it in the wall, we just distort it, and there it is. 1 minute in After Effects. And,
I don't know. I thought it looked nice. I don't think I talked about it. Yeah, I don't think I talked about it at all. But I was like, it felt like it had depth to it. Like I was wondering for a moment if it was like a window sort of thing, or like I thought for a moment they might have had an aquarium window sort of thing in there. And it's like, no, this is flat against a wall.
It might be because it's 2 or 3 layers. Like they might have the fish on one layer and the plants on another layer, and it's also well painted.
Because the fish, I thought that was like a moth or something.
Oh no, you're right. It's butterflies. My bad. I can think it was an aquarium, but you're right. It's actually a window. But yeah, they put that little motion there. But if you like squint at it, you might be surprised. It's kind of like in the video game where you see debris. Like I know they do this in Call of Duty. Like, look at all the debris that's flying everywhere. But if you actually were to freeze frame it or compare frame by frame, a lot of the physical objects that are flying around are actually particles. They're 2D billboards that they just tilt to the camera and fly around. And because there's so much of it and it keeps happening, you don't notice. But once again, like I said, this would have been, I think, way more impressive in 2010. Like in 2010, we would have talked about how amazing these techniques are.
Well, that's why I was talking about memory of how things were, but the technology has progressed to the point where things do it better, and your memory of how the thing was good back then doesn't really hold up nowadays. Like how a bunch of great old movies that did things first for the first time, and you tell kids about it today, and they're like, yeah, there's like 20 movies on Netflix I could watch that do that better.
Yeah, well, I would say this holds up. Like I think visually this looked great. I like the fact that the characters looked different. We could tell them apart, but still a limited palette. And it was going for a certain level of realism, which I think came through. I like the fact that, the rich kids with his absentee parents, his place is still small and cramped, but it still looks better than his other friend whose dad works for the ethics committee. He obviously lives in a cheaper place with cheaper robots. And our 5-year-old who got beaten up is obviously of incredible means because he lives in a house in the middle of nowhere with big spaces. They did a good job of invoking the sense of place. And I think it visually. I always worry that if as much as we all love Cowboy Bebop and everybody talks about how awesome Cowboy Bebop is, I would always worry about if you recommended it to somebody today, they would look at that, and that's the 90s. That's still the paint and trace era, hand drawn. I would worry that someone might look at that and say this looks dated, and that would make me cry.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually know. It was everybody I know that reviews Cowboy Bebop and still says it's great. Is the aging generation, right? I don't think I know any up and coming anime reviewers that are younger that are exploring older. I guess 30 something years old is older anime.
Cool. They're still doing One Piece.
Well, actually, again, we've already said this. They're doing One Piece twice, or technically 3 times. You have One Piece, which is actively running still, though it's approaching its end. You have The One Piece, which is remaking One Piece right now while One Piece is still going, to fix like plot problems and animate it in a consistent manner. Because if you go back and watch original One Piece to today, it really changes. But they're also doing the live action One Piece, which is also changing stuff from One Piece, but to make it live action.
Yeah. So
can't get enough One Piece.
Can't get enough One Piece. It's One Piece, and we got 3 of them.
Yeah, I'd say more than One Piece.
So,
One Piece.
yeah. So this was, this was pretty good. I can see why you like it. There are reasons to recommend it. Not as bleak as Ergo Proxy, which is my go-to for robots mixing with humans.
I only watched the first episode of that because I really liked how bleak it was in the first episode, like the baby going off with the thing. But the disappointment I had in Ergo Proxy was that, at the end of the first episode, they kind of give you like a philosophical thing to go with the episode about how dark. Well, you're saying that like it was negative. I wanted more of that, and then I watched the next episode, and it's like, oh, now we're just getting into the plot of the world, and you're not even hitting me with philosophical quotes and shit anymore.
No, stick with it. It gets even bleaker.
Oh, you're saying stick with it, but I gave up Ergo Proxy a long time ago.
Oh,
I really liked the art style, though. The art style was good.
It gets even darker. I love it so much. It like I didn't think they would go these places, and they do. It's great.
Well, maybe I'll give it another chance sometime.
But you're right. I'm hard pressed to remember anything in episode 2 because I think you're right. I think it was like, we need to. But of course, once again, I'm Rafferty, who always hates lore and always hates story.
All right. Well, any final wrap up thoughts for today?
I would recommend Time of Eve. You can watch it with a general audience. I think it's at that level where it, if you're expecting it to push boundaries, that's not going to happen. It's designed to be, it would only be transgressive for people who had no idea what transgressiveness was, and it's pretty to look at.
All right. Well, once again, I have been Theta. This has been Rafferty with Stoneface Reactions, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?